webinar. And I'm so pleased to have been asked to introduce this subject, mindfulness, heartfulness and peacefulness, because I really think that this subject is around the potential of human beings to be all that they can be. And extensive research has already shown that it benefits people with both physical and mental health, as well as making life more enjoyable and fulfilling. So we're going to have some practical exercises, as well as some slides and some information. And I guess maybe you're asking, who am I? So my name's Kathy Watts, and I'm a counsellor therapist with CiC, that's counselling in companies, and I've worked with them for about 5 years. I've been working as a therapist for about 20 years, and I also present virtual wellbeing groups on the subject of peacefulness. So personally, I love to travel, and I also really enjoy singing and playing my guitar for relaxation. Try not to do that today. Okay. So it was suggested that I might be a mindfulness expert, which I think was why I was given this webinar. But I did remind Harry about the concept of beginner's mind, which you may be familiar with. Well, we'll come on to that later. So I'm not making any claims to be an expert. But having said that, I do have and have had a daily long-term inner peace practice. And we like to make these webinars interesting and original by including a personal perspective. So I will be sharing something of my own journey with mindfulness, heartfulness and peacefulness. And I welcome you to do the same in the chat room. I may read out some of your comments with your first name, unless you private message me, and then you'll remain anonymous. However, mindfulness does not endorse multitasking, and so you'll have to bear with me on that. I'll try and keep up. Okay, so Martin's saying that he hasn't got any sound. Can most of you hear me okay? Okay, I'm getting nods there. Right, thanks.
Yeah, if he doesn't have any sound, he'll have to leave and rejoin, but I'll put that note in the chat for him, Kathy.
Okay, thank you, Harry. Thanks. So I wanted to get to know you a little bit, and I've suggested we start with a little self-check-in, and perhaps I can ask how you are. And maybe you could tell me in 1 or perhaps 2 words about how you are feeling in this moment right now. And I'll share that I'm feeling hopeful and a little bit nervous. So over to you. Oh, very hot, Deborah. Frustrated, Gwen. Rather warm, Nicola. Oh, I like this one. Hot and sticky, but happy from Rebea. Relaxed. That's nice, Andrea. And yes, we have a lot of hot people out there. And intrigued from Marina. Yes, good. Thank you. There's quite a few of you on here. Oh, someone got COVID, feeling grotty. Sorry about that. Okay, Mel saying Jade. I'm content, Sophie. That's nice. Okay. So I'm going to move on to the next slide. Thank you for your comments. So well-being, balance, goodness, there's been a huge increase in interest in this recently, as people, trying to find ways to feel good or even just okay in their lives. And at CiC, we've noticed a big increase in the demand for counselling. It's pretty hard to get an appointment with the GP these days. And, people are stressed. A lot of people are struggling to cope with both the demands of the workplace and perhaps supporting their own needs and perhaps young families. This pandemic has been very challenging for many, I would say most people. And mindfulness offers, a potential solution to helping us with our stress. So I'm wondering, what does the word mindfulness mean to you? Perhaps again, you could put some thoughts in the chat. Being in the moment, Carol. Present, yeah, Suzanne. Well, they're whizzing through. Concentration on one thing at a time from Carrie Ann. Yes, indeed. And aware, Natalie. Aware of yourself. Taking time for yourself, Madeline. Yes, so often we forget about that, don't we? Self-care, that's a good one from Natalie. And also for me, it's about slowing down. And I try to remember this little gem of ancient wisdom. I think it's probably Buddhist in origin. He who hurries is delayed. I like that one. He who hurries is delayed. And so let's do a little mindfulness exercise to get us into the swing of things. And it's a little exercise called colour counting. I don't know whether you've come across this one, but it's quite fun, and it just requires thinking of any color you like, and actually just looking slowly around your environment, wherever you are at the moment, and seeing where you can spot that color. Just noting to yourself, okay, I'm going to choose red. I'm looking around my room here, and I'm noticing actually a surprising number of places where you get little dots of red, and where I have never noticed before. So what we're doing with this is that we're bringing our attention into focus, a relaxed focus, and we're letting go of our busy brain, our thoughts, by focusing on something specific and simple. Okay. So, I guess we couldn't really talk about mindfulness without mentioning John Kabat-Zinn, who I would regard as probably the expert. And his definition of mindfulness is that awareness that arises through paying attention on purpose in the present moment, non-judgmentally. And he's created a training called mindfulness-based stress reduction. I don't know, have any of you done this, maybe come across it? No, maybe not, perhaps a few. And just a minute. Now he also differentiates between what he calls everyday mindfulness and meditation. So everyday mindfulness generally is around putting one's attention outside oneself onto something specific, such as, I don't know, eating, walking, even something as mundane as washing up. And he suggests that we can do this mindfully, and that will help by being in the moment, focusing simply on the task in hand. And meditation generally is about turning within ourselves to focus on something within ourselves. But both of these forms of mindfulness do require what he has come up with as the 7 attitudes. and in how we approach our mindful practice. And they are non-judging, patience, beginner's mind, trust, non-striving, acceptance, and letting go. Thinking, oh, quite an ask. And I'm wondering if any of these strike you as being particularly challenging to achieve. I'd be interested to hear from you which one perhaps you feel would be the most difficult to achieve. Letting go. Oh, right. Letting go. That's interesting. Virtually everybody has put letting go. How interesting. Trust from one there. What is non-striving? Well, that's a good question. Yeah, not sure what you mean by some of them. Yes, an interesting point, Cheryl. So, what is non-striving? This is a particularly interesting thing. I think, especially when we're talking about mindfulness in the workplace, because in a way, we are striving, hopefully, at work. And yet, here we are asking ourselves to be non-striving. And that doesn't mean not making an effort. It means perhaps not being quite so attached to the outcome as to giving it one's best focus in the moment. And then, in fact, that is likely to increase the chances of a good outcome. And of course, Western society is so competitive. And I think, in a way, striving, being in competition is ingrained in us very early on. And I think that one's non-striving is particularly tricky, actually. And of course, letting go. Everyone seems to think this is a particularly tricky one. And I'm laughing at this one. Non-judging, especially when doing dishes. Thank you, Leanna. I guess that's somebody else's dishes, maybe you're doing. So anyway, we'll, I mean, this is just an introduction to mindfulness, so I won't go any further into this at this point. But essentially, the practice of mindfulness, especially I think the breathing exercises, are a way in which we can learn how to let go. So we'll come on to that. And so anyone can try out mindfulness or meditation for themselves. It's a popular tool and it's effective for some people. Some like to have a teacher or a guide of some kind. Others prefer not to. And actually, it's very easy to access self-help apps these days, such as Headspace or Calm. And yeah, I think probably some of you've already come across those. So I'd like to just move on to look at some applications of mindfulness. And you may be aware that mindfulness is used for health and physical pain, management of illness. Birch and Penman have come up with a new version of mindfulness called mindfulness-based pain management, which they say can dramatically reduce pain and the emotional reaction to it. And I think, in a way, both are interesting. It can actually reduce the pain by breathing into the pain and relaxing the muscles around it. And then it can also help to reduce the emotional reaction to both pain or illness, because it can be very stressful being in pain or being ill, and how we manage that, maybe the anxiety around that. So it's used for, conditions of chronic pain like fibromyalgia, also chronic functional disorders such as IBS, And serious illnesses like cancer or multiple sclerosis, and certainly the NHS is available on the NHS these days. I personally don't have any experience of this because fortunately for me, I've been fairly healthy so far. But maybe some of you do, or maybe some of you have seen it effective with somebody else, perhaps someone that you're caring for. Any experience of this mindfulness-based pain management? Oh, childbirth, Carol. Three. Yes, indeed. And one person had this for fibromyalgia, but not as effective as I couldn't let go in order to relax due to the pain. I'm not saying that it's a simple fix at all. It isn't. And of course, we have to respect that pain is pain. And, it's not meant to be a cure-all, but in fact, research has proved that in some cases, at least, it actually is as effective as prescription painkillers. Chronic back pain for someone else, hay fever symptoms to calm down from Nicola. Yeah. And for migraine, Ashley, trying it. Well, good luck. I wish you all the best with that. Not fun at all, migraines. Okay, thank you. So I'll move on to another very interesting and helpful application of mindfulness, which is for difficult emotions. And Mark Williams and co. have come up with this mindfulness-based cognitive therapy, which he says can help you make a radical shift in your relationship to negative thoughts and feelings. So, as a therapist, I find it's very helpful to use with clients working on issues such as depression, anxiety, and attempting to self-regulate these more difficult emotions, perhaps anger, jealousy. And so he's written this book, The Mindful Way Through Depression, which is freeing yourself from chronic unhappiness. And so there's also some guided meditations, a recording of them in there. And I've actually personally found this approach really helpful because, like most of us, I've faced some fairly difficult family situations in my life some time ago. And, there are emotions that come up sometimes that actually we automatically shy away from, perhaps try to avoid. I don't know if anyone's got any experience of this, or can perhaps think of some negative emotions that we might reject, perhaps not want to go near. Grief, indeed, Gemma. Road rage, John, yes, thank you. Loss of a loved one. I'm sorry. Good, and Rabea has found this helpful with the CBT practitioner. Panic attacks, yes. PTSD, yeah. Childhood experiences. And moving on from the negativity. Thanks, Carol. And I don't know if you're familiar with comedian Ruby Wax, but she also has something to say about this in her book here, which is called A Mindfulness Guide for the Frazzled. And I just like to quote from her that she says, pure awareness of a feeling, either physical or emotional, allows you to go below negative self-talk and means that you don't have to pick at the scab of memory. If you can catch the feeling quickly and hone in on it, you'll nip the verbal translation in the bud. I mean, inimitable humor, the scab of memory. I like that. Um, well, basically, it's about befriending our emotions, trying to welcome them. And if we can do that, it's actually more likely that we can avoid getting triggered from our past. So again, I'm, really just touching on the surface of quite a big subject here. And, there's lots of different sources. I've put some resources on the last few slides of my presentation, and you can look into this further should you want to. So I think it's time to have a little practice. And I've put fun exercises because we're going to try and enjoy ourselves with this. I've actually got my little aids here. I've got my lovely wooden yogini here, which I actually got from Brighton. And I've also got a lovely meditation bell here, which is the authentic article when I was in Nepal. So we'll be using that in a moment. And so generally the purpose of mindfulness is to achieve relaxed focus by taking our attention away from our thoughts and putting it somewhere else. The most likely places we're going to be putting it are in our body, our breath, or perhaps guided visualizations using our imagination. Okay. Now, this is a thing about the thoughts, thinking of them as passing clouds. You've probably come across that before, I would imagine. Maybe. It's quite a common visualization that mindfulness practices uses. And it thinks of these thoughts as, I mean, they come, they arise, they hang around for a while, and then they go. Sometimes they change shape, and then they go, like the clouds coming into your vision across the sky. So the art is to actually not latch onto them, to not put your attention onto them, but just to let them go. So this also is very helpful for people who are troubled by worrying thoughts or harsh inner critic. We all have, the voice of our self-talk that sometimes puts us down. You're useless, you're worthless, can't do that. And sometimes we picture this as a little gremlin on the shoulder whispering nasty things in our ear. But however you picture this, it's an amazing thing to realize and to experience when we actually can break free of those thoughts and realize that actually there's more to us than thoughts. So we're talking about the nature of our self here. So let's have just a little practice with this. And I'm just going to suggest that we do just five, perhaps mindful breaths together. And let's see if we can let go. Let's see, first of all, so what we're doing is we're going to focus on breathing, just a natural breathing, no hurrying, no forcing, just noticing the in-breath and the out-breath. And as the in-breath comes in, we're going to say to ourselves, let, and as the out-breath goes, we're going to say go. And we're going to try and do this 5 times in a row. And notice if we can keep our focus on that or whether any thoughts come in. Okay, so let's give it a go now. Okay. So how did we get on with that? I'm going to be the first to admit that I didn't actually manage that because I suddenly thought, oh, I should check the time to see how I'm doing on my presentation after the third breath, which is typical. How did you do? Right, so feeling relaxed, someone? Some thoughts intruded, Nicola. Instinctively closed my eyes. Yes, that can be very helpful, Victoria. Got distracted with my tummy rumbling, Rabea. Falling asleep, Natalie. Right. And actually, sometimes this is used as an aid for sleep for people who have problems with sleeping. Internal voice saying, I can't focus on the words. Yes, all a very common problem. And so, this is very common. And the art of mindfulness meditation, it's not so much about being able to achieve this, because I don't think anyone can achieve it 100%, but it's actually the practice of this is going to help slow down if you can keep with the breath, keep with the words let go, keep bringing the attention gently back to the breath, to the letting go, and letting go of the thoughts, noticing them perhaps, okay, and then letting go. Again and again, as we all know, practice makes perfect, so they say, but may not get to perfect, but we will actually gradually learn more about how to let go just by that very simple breathing exercise. So I'm going to run through a brief guided meditation. This one is actually from the UCLA website. I'm going to read it myself, but in fact, you can access this. It's a free resource with many good guided meditations. And so let's have a little go at this one now, if you would. And it actually does suggest starting this by closing your eyes if you're comfortable to do so. So I've got my little bell here. We're going to start and end with this. Begin this meditation by noticing the posture that you're in. Maybe standing or sitting or lying down. Notice your body exactly how it is and see if you can tune into any sensations that are present in this moment. There might be heaviness or lightness, pressure, weight. There might be vibration, pulsating, movement, warmth, fullness. These sensations can be anywhere in your body. All you have to do is notice them. Notice what's happening with curiosity and interest. Take a breath. As you breathe, relax. Not much to do except to be fully present and aware. Okay, so hopefully you're feeling just a little bit more space in your day as we go on. And that brings us to the subject of heartfulness. Thank you, Nicola, more relaxed now. Good. So I don't know whether you've heard of the word heartfulness. Maybe some of you will have done. It's a relatively new and deeper aspect to mindfulness. And it's been actually, Williams mentions it in his book that we've looked at earlier about mindfulness. the need to include heartfulness as part of mindfulness. And then Paul Gilbert and Kristen Neff have gone on to create a new training to deepen mindfulness with heartfulness. So is it mind versus heart? No, it's mind with heart working together. So the mind mainly is around focusing the attention. And in fact, it can be used, mindfulness can be used for any purpose, including martial arts. And you may be amazed to know that even the military use mindfulness in their training these days because it helps focus. And also flow, I just mentioned flow, which is connected with this. If you've come across this word, flow, being in the zone, it's used in sports training a lot, also performance of any kind. And flow, which is part of mindfulness, because it creates, opens the door to creativity, and is used by musicians and artists. But on top of that is the heartfulness, and that looks at the intention behind why I'm trying to connect with myself and moves it into a whole new realm involving things like compassion, such an important side of human beings. So these are the qualities of heartfulness. And the compassion definitely includes for oneself as well as other people. Kindness, fantastic, lovely stuff, to oneself and all sentient beings, a very Buddhist phrase there. Gratitude, I mean, gosh, that makes such a difference. If we're able to appreciate the simple things in our life, that always feels good. Sensitivity to suffering, one's own suffering and other people's suffering, which we all experience from time to time. Inner child, a phrase you may have come across. It's quite a therapy little phrase, but it means understanding our own vulnerabilities and those of other people. Forgiveness, always not so easy. Yes, forgiving again oneself and other people. I mean, each of these subjects I know is huge in itself, but this is the realm that heartfulness covers. And of course, it is very meaningful, it's significant, and it's profound emotionally. So I've mentioned there is a strong Buddhist influence behind mindfulness. But I'm wondering, does spirituality need to come into this at all? Do you think this heartfulness particularly is a spiritual thing? Or maybe just a practical thing? Something about a human quality? A human thing, Phaeton? Thank you. And more of a spiritual from Onsare. Mind and body, yes, Carol. Both. Both. Yeah, exactly. Why does it have to separate them? Some people like to have, they find it helpful to include a spiritual aspect. Some people really don't. In fact, it can put some people off. So, in fact, it is very much about what your beliefs are. Thank you, Trevor. Yeah. And really, it's your choice as to how you feel about, this aspect of it. So, I'd like to just do a couple of little exercises around heartfulness. And perhaps I could ask you just quickly, if you can, to think of 3 things that you are grateful for in your life. perhaps we could pop some things into the chat room. Family, yeah. Secure job, roof over my head, food to eat. Waking up, John, yes. That's always a good start. Music, I can go with that one, of course. Nature, friends, my dog, Hannah. Yeah. Living in the most tolerant time in history, Simon. Freedom, so important, isn't it? Peace in my country, Eva, yes. Yes, indeed, at this time. Yeah, happiness. Yeah. So, of course, mindfulness with heartfulness is also very helpful in therapy because it is about compassion um, and love at the end of the day. That's what people respond to. So important. So I'm going to give you a little example of a self-compassion meditation. It's originally from Christian Neff. Again, there's a link to it at the end of the slides, but I'm going to read it for you this time. So, ready to close your eyes again? Getting a lot of nice closed eyes time with this seminar. Okay, here we go. So to practice this, we actually need to call up a little suffering. So I invite you to think about a situation in your life right now that is difficult for you. Maybe you're feeling stressed, or you're having a relationship problem, or you're worried about something that might happen. Really try to bring this to life in your mind's eye. There are 3 aspects to self-compassion that we can bring in. The first is acknowledging this is a moment of suffering. Bring mindful awareness to this fact that this is really hard right now. Turning towards our difficulty, maybe naming it. The second aspect is that suffering is a part of life. Reminding ourselves of our common humanity, that it's not abnormal to feel this way. And the third aspect is, may I be kind to myself in this moment. Perhaps put a hand over your heart. Feel the warmth, the gentle touch. And as if talking to a close friend who is suffering, say to yourself, I care about you. It's going to be okay. Then letting go, noticing how your body feels right now, allowing yourself to be just as you are in this moment. And when you feel ready, come back into our shared space. Okay, so I don't know if anyone would be brave enough to share. Yes, Cheryl, thank you. Brought tears to my eyes. It does. It can do. It is quite a powerful tool, even just a few minutes. Yes, Nicola made me want to cry. Yeah, so you can see how this can be of value. Thank you, Victoria. Very moving. Peggy, never talked to myself like that. Warm, tingling feeling in my body. Hazel. Carol says, I can't say to someone it's going to be okay because it may be not. Now, that's an interesting comment. And of course, we can't promise anything to anyone else or to ourselves. But in a way, the whole art of living, perhaps, is to help oneself to realize that actually, whatever happens, it will be okay. And this might sound quite strange, and maybe it takes some understanding of mindfulness and beyond to get to that. But the fact that even dying is okay. That's getting profound today. I wasn't sure I was going to go there. So take a breath. I can see a couple of smiles. So yeah, the human condition. It's a remarkable, remarkable thing that we have a life. So much more we could talk about with all this, of course. Anyway, moving on. So I would like to move into the zone of peacefulness. So here we're moving even deeper than heartfulness into peacefulness. We're talking about qualities like stillness, silence, freedom, joy, wonder, awe, bliss even. And is it possible, really, to describe this inner realm in words? Actually, probably not. Very much we're into the experiential zone with all this. And I'd like to share a quote from Kabir, who was a poet many centuries ago. And he says, all know that there is a drop in the ocean, but few know that there is an ocean in each drop. Now that sounds a bit deep, but what it's saying is that within each drop, within each human being, there's an ocean of consciousness that actually not so many people really explore, really experience the joy, the bliss that we hold deep within each one of us. So I said, that I would share something of my personal journey with you. And whilst I'm aware that there may be many roads into this realm, my own personal journey has been with the guidance of a man called Prem Rawat. He was born in India. He started speaking publicly on the subject of inner peace at the age of 4. Obviously, a very remarkable human being to have been inspired to do that at such a young age. And almost 40 years later, I'm still practicing this on a daily basis. I still learn from him and from myself, and I am extremely grateful because actually it has really transformed my life. So these days, Prem Rawat has a wide and ever increasing international audience, and he's created 2 free self-discovery programs. The first is called the Peace Education Program, which is for groups. I facilitate this both online and in person, and it's about exploring the wonderful inner resources such as appreciation, inner strength, hope, choice, and the possibility of personal peace. The second program is called PEAK, Peace Education and Knowledge, and this is available free online. It's for individuals, it's for deepening the understanding of the self, and offers the opportunity to request to be shown the techniques of self-knowledge, which is the method that I use to turn within. So he's also recently written a new book called Hear Yourself, How to Find Peace in a Noisy World, this one here. And I've put a summary of the quote that I'd like to read now on to the slide here with an image of a rocket. You'll see why in a minute. And so just bear with me while I find the quote. Okay. This is Prem Rawat from his book. For me, the process of self-knowledge from mindfulness to heartfulness and then peacefulness is rather like getting a rocket into space. Mindfulness is about calming the mind and focusing the attention, getting the rocket to the launch pad. We leave behind everything that's not needed for the flight and focus our attention, so we're ready to go. Heartfulness is about fully connecting inside so we can generate a powerful feeling of completeness that starts to lift us off the ground. And peacefulness is what we experience in our heart when we're going up, 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 pulling away from gravity. And then the booster tanks drop away and we're flying into the vastness of our inner universe, beyond the dimensions of normal time and space. So, yes, not too much you can say after that. I'll just let you absorb that. And that brings us really to the end of my presentation. So I'd like to just share with you the practical resources for all three mindfulness here. You're welcome to take photograph or print screen, but this will be available on the video, hopefully at some point very soon. And then the Heartfulness resources there. And lastly, the Peacefulness resources. So I really hope that you've enjoyed this workshop. I have, and I thank you for your attention and your contributions. So here we are at CiC, your EAP, and you know, if anyone is looking for extra support, we are here. Thank you so much, everybody, for your kind words in the chat. And you're welcome to sign up for the newsletter at cicwellbeing.com. Subscribe to our YouTube channel, where you hopefully will find this video along with all the previous wonderful webinars that Harry's done. And yeah, so please stay in touch. And I'm sure we'll be having another webinar in a month's time. And thank you so much to everybody. It's been lovely to meet you. So I think we're coming to the end there. I'm not quite sure how I actually end the session.